Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, your go-to place for everything Rocket League with your hosts, K-Cube, AJ Binky, and Red. So lean forward, lock in, and get ready to go Boost Over Ball.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle, K-Cube, and today I'm here with Red. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. How about yourself, Kyle?
It's good. We got another jam-packed show for you guys today. We'll be talking about the EU Open Qualifier number 4 and the absolute chaos that came from that. They said, we saw your NA top 4, which was kind of crazy. And here, let me just hold my beer. And so we'll talk about what happened with that. The absolute madness that has caused, and we'll talk about the NA qualifier number 5, including the top 16 teams that will be making it to the Swiss stage for qualifier number 5, before taking you off around the world and finishing off with Red's roster rumors. So without further ado, let's just jump right in and talk about the results from the EU Open qualifier number 4 from the Swiss stage. So
alrighty.
You want to run us down the teams and their results?
Sure thing. So, EU qualifier numero cinco, or sorry, it's not cinco, cuatro. I got my Spanish wrong there. We got for your Swiss stage, Carmine Corps and BDS going 3-0. Team Vitality and Gentlemates and Luna Galaxy going 3-1. Jobless, Grid Serve, Resolve, and Oxygen going 3-2. For your 8 teams making the cut, and then the 8 teams that did not make the cut with Endpoint 100% in Team 3 going 2-3, George, Ford, and Dignity Esports going 1-3, and Wild and Nordschleife going 0-3. Finally, moving on to the top 8, we had Carmine Corps falling to Oxygen. That's right, I said falling. They didn't win. Oxygen goes on to win that 4-2. Gentlemates knocks off Luna Galaxy 4-1. Team BDS also loses. Yes, you heard me right. BDS and Carmine Corps both lost in the quarters. Grid Surf Resolve beating them 4-3, and Team Vitality beating Jobless 4-1. Moving on to the semis, we had Gentlemates knocking off Oxygen 4-3 and a fantastic series, and Team Vitality keep holding the fort down, taking out Grid Surf Resolve and a clean 4-0 sweep, with finally in the grand final, Team Vitality knocking off Gentlemates 4-1 to keep the French back on top.
So I feel like we got to talk about probably... I'm gonna leave the elephant in the room till the end. So the first thing I feel like we got to talk about is Vitality. Is Vitality back? Like, did you have them winning a regional on your bingo card?
I mean, okay. I don't know if Vitality is back per se. I would want to say that they were on the receiving end of a fortunate circumstance. Now, they did beat Gentlemates, which is huge for them, especially for them Gentlemates coming off of one of the best runs I've ever seen in a major. But I do think there was a bit of fortunate luck their way with BDS and Carmine Corps falling to their respective teams.
I would think so too. And Stacks talked about it on the broadcast, and it seems to be a little bit of a trend now. I mean, obviously they made it to the grand finals, right? So take this with a grain of salt. But LAN Gentlemates seems to be a very different team from online Gentlemates. They seem to be not as dominant as we'd come to expect, taking down the teams that they did in their run to a major victory. But, nevertheless, a grand finals appearance. But what did you kind of think? I don't want to say Mickey run, because I hate, because you can only play the teams that you play. And, a great series win over an Oxygen team that looked dominant against Carmine Corps. But to me, it just felt like they were missing something, especially in that grand final series.
Yeah, I mean, Gentlemates throughout the entire kind of top 8 there, they looked. It was interesting. It was like they looked normal, but you could tell something was different, and you don't know why. And it probably just comes down to LAN and not being on LAN. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely something that Mates will need to figure out. I mean, as long as they're making majors, then I guess it doesn't really matter for them. But it would probably be nice for them to come in with a better seeding. But yeah,
Okay. And then, we can kind of talk about, like, in my opinion, I'll jump back a little bit here. I, Endpoint is really, in my opinion, the only team that maybe you'd look at them and, that's Arju, Matane, and Toxic. Toxic, formerly of SA, that's maybe one of the only teams that you look at and say, they probably should be making the top 8. But like for the most part, I feel like Swiss, kind of went as you might expect it to, except maybe Luna Galaxy beating Oxygen. But other than that, like pretty standard. I think Vitality took care of business against Jobless. I think Gentlemates took care of business against Luna Galaxy. I think that's expected. Now I feel like we can talk about two of the bigger upsets. The first of which being Resolve taking down BDS. So this is a Resolve team that it's some new additions. It's Cash, Ivan, and Raziers. The Cash Cannon finding a new home after leaving Moist, after leaving Redemption with Ivan, and they looked fantastic against BDS. I think they were doing everything that they could have been doing. They went up 3-0 and were able to stave off a reverse sweep, but they looked fantastic in the first 3 games and then almost choked it away.
yeah. I mean, they realistically they should have choked it away. Watching that BDS series, I mean, BDS did everything they could to lose Game 7, and I mean, I watching that series, I can't count there was I think 2 or 3 missed open nets, like egregious open net misses. We do like to say that open nets are the hardest shot to hit in Rocket League, which I can agree to a point on that. But open net, Game 7, we've seen what happens when you miss those. And well, BDS's reverse sweep run gets cut short because of that.
Agreed. And Johnny Boy talked about it on the broadcast. He's like, we have seen a couple Monkey Moon meltdowns or Monkey Moon stinkers, and that was one of them. In my opinion, he did not show up the second half, like in Game 7 especially, and in the first half of that series. He missed quite a few open nets on his own, including some fairly routine ball bounces off the post. All you have to do is just have your car there so that it taps in, and he missed. And
Yep.
In my opinion, it's kind of interesting that really the biggest gripe against Cash as a professional Rocket League player is the consistency. You see the mechanics. You saw it in that game against BDS. You saw the pop-off potential, some of the incredible goals that he scores, and the solo play mechanical ability that he has, but he hasn't been consistent. And Resolve wasn't consistent. They took it to BDS those first 3 games. They looked really good. You're thinking, okay, are they going to sweep BDS? Like, what is happening? And then they lose 5-0, 5-1 before taking a timeout and righting the ship a little bit, losing 2-1 and taking Game 7. Like, that's the inconsistency right there, right? So going from winning 3 to getting blown out 2 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it's again. I mean, timeout buff's always gonna hit pretty hard, as we've seen. Usually, I think the percentage on it is kind of crazy. If I remember hearing it, but losing by a plus 9 goal differential. Was that a 9 goal differential over 2 games is crazy in a 3v3. So I mean, props to Resolve for holding on, but you gotta fix that.
You do indeed, and I mean it's very rare. I don't know that I've seen it quite this bad before, right? But Resolve wins the series with a negative goal differential.
Ugh, that's one of those wins that don't feel good about at all. Even if it's an upset, winning with a negative goal differential, I mean, that just leaves a sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah, BDS won their 3 games by a combined total of 10 goals, right? The 5-0 and 5-1 really helps them out, but still 10 goals. And Resolve wins their games by a grand total of 3. 4. Sorry,
Jeez.
4. So, going -6 in goal differential and still winning the series is crazy. That doesn't happen in Rocket League.
No, not often. Not often, at least.
Yeah. But last but not least, and certainly not least, is the Carmine Oxygen series.
Yeah, I mean, unlike the BDS Resolve series, Oxygen just truly looked like the better team. I mean, Carmine Corps just finally had an off day, and boy, did they have an off day. They were shut out in the last 3 games of the series. Shut out. You shut out arguably the best team in the world right now. That is wild, especially with a new roster. Joyo comes in, says, "Don't worry, Team Capsule's back, but I'm the better one," and just shuts them down. I mean, it was a fantastic series by Oxygen. I mean, Carmine Corps definitely could have played better, but Oxygen just looked locked. I mean, they looked absolutely dialed in.
Yeah, and it showing and proving to us specifically, because we had kind of expected him to be the one to step away. Archie actually in that series averaged the highest score of anybody on the field, averaging a little over 500 points a game. But 30% shooting percentage is going to be lethal and a tough pill to swallow for anybody. But highest shooting percentage in the lobby, most goals per game. So Archie had a fantastic series, and Joyo, an absolute masterclass defensively from him, and really showing everyone why he's one of the premier players in the world. They kind of talked about it a little bit, being a little bit of a grudge match, right? So Joyo playing against Vatira and Rise, and Oski and Atao kind of playing against each other, former teammates. So that was kind of a cool storyline, I guess, but a fantastic win from Oxygen.
Absolutely. Also, fun fact, with Carmine Corps losing that series, that was the end of Vatira's Championship Sunday streak. And by streak, this was an insane streak that we probably won't ever see for a long time, most likely. Vatira missed his first Championship Sunday since January of 2022. That is 2 years ago, breaking the streak of 26 Championship Sunday finishes in the RLCS. 26 straight!
That's the epitome of consistency.
Oh my god!
That's unreal.
I hate to see the streak broken, but at the same time, oh my god!
No kidding. But
now I'm worried. What kind of comeback arc is Vatira about to go on?
yeah, I mean, they talked about it on the broadcast, right? Like for their sake, they hope for his sake, they hope Vatira is not on one of the teams that fades down the stretch like he has been in previous years. Mm-hmm. I would tend to say that you can't count out Carmine Corps. They're just too good. They just had an off day. It happens to everybody. But so for major number 2, here is your top 4. Vitality with 20 points. Gentlemates with 16. Oxygen and Resolve tied with 12. And tied for 5th with 8 points, we have Jobless, Carmine Corps, Luna Galaxy, and BDS. So for the first time all season, Carmine Corps and BDS are on the outside looking in. Granted, it has been one event. They have not done the qualifiers for Open Qualifier number 5. There's a lot of Rocket League left to play. 2/3 of this split are still set to happen, but it's important to note that they are not in a major spot currently.
That's not on my bingo card, I'll tell you that. That would be some doomsday level stuff if that continues.
It certainly would, right? And it's most likely not going to happen. And most likely Carmine Corps will regain and they will make the major. But it's important to note that Vatira's Championship Sunday streak ending puts them out of contention for a major if the season ended today, which it does not.
Stop the count. Stop it.
Oh, no. Oh, no. But was there anything else?
We want to watch all the Rocket League we can. Don't stop it.
Yeah, never stop. You can never have too much RLCS.
Absolutely.
But with that, was there anything else that you wanted to add about EU Open Qualifier number 4 before we jump over to North America for the double elim from qualifier number 5?
Nah, I think EU's had its time in the spotlight. It's time for NA again.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we know through the double elimination stage, we have the following teams qualifying for the top 16 and Swiss. Through the upper brackets, we have G2 Stride, the Snowmen, OG, Space Station Gaming, Gen.G Mobile One Racing, Shopify Rebellion, Luminosity, and M80. And qualifying through the lower bracket, we have NRG, Dignitas, Moist Esports, Spate Esports, we'll talk about them more in Red's roster rumors, Cloud9, BDW, TSM, and Nether Lamera Canada. God, I was hoping that they wouldn't qualify, so I wouldn't have to say that name anymore. But it's a clever name considering one player is from the Netherlands, one player is from America, and one player is from Canada. But what are your kind of thoughts on the top 16? Any surprises, or is this kind of the status quo?
I feel like we're pretty much at the status quo. There's about 14 or so teams that we kind of expect to make it at this point, and then those last 2 slots will rotate between a couple bubble teams here and there. One thing I did find interesting is just looking at, they did release the round 1 matchups for the Swiss. So we have G2 Stride versus BDW, Gen.G versus Spate Esports, LG versus Nether Lamera Canada. Which, if you remember from the last NA qualifier, that didn't go so well for them. So I'm curious to see if LG gets their get back. OG versus Dignitas, Space Station versus NRG, M80 versus Cloud9, TSM versus Shopify Rebellion, and Snowmen versus Moist will be your first round matchups for the Swiss. I am excited.
I am excited too. So we're going to do something a little bit different for our predictions this time, just because we're continuing on with the 1 episode a week kind of system that we got going on here. We will be using the Google Doc bracket predictor, and we will be going through and predicting our entire brackets, and we will be tweeting them out, and then we will talk about them in the next episode in entirety. So we'll see kind of how we did from that standpoint, and it's a little bit easier for people to follow. And we may, create a bracket group, give out some prizes, do something like that, and try to see who's going to be the best predictor in the group. So we'll try this out. If this ends up working out, then we'll do this more frequently. But this is kind of we'll a trial run, as we shall say.
Sounds good.
But from this group of 16, we got to do it. What's your best name?
I mean, it's hard to beat Nether Lamera Canada at this point, I think, for best name. I mean, we've seen all the other names before besides BDW, so I'm still sticking with Nether Lamera Canada.
I'm with you on that one. I'm not saying it again, but I would agree with you. So, but if you I guess for people who either didn't watch the last qualifier or are looking to pay attention to something heading into the weekend, I know it's usually easier to watch like a specific team stream or to pay attention to a couple of storylines that you may have. I would make sure to watch the Snowmen. Fresh off a top 4 finish, they'll look to continue their run of form to try to help solidify their major number 2 spots. Reveal has kind of established himself as one of the premier finishers in North America, so look for him to continue that. If you're looking for a team stream to watch during the Swiss stage, I will always highly recommend to you the Luminosity Gaming stream. I think that it is fantastic. I think that Spaceman and Achieves do a fantastic job on that stream. This is a big rebound for Luminosity. Like you said earlier, they gotta get back, they gotta get right, and really finish it out. And last but certainly not least, for me at least, M80. We've seen M80 qualify through every single Swiss. We've seen them exit in the quarterfinals every single time. Which M80 will we see? Will it be the Swiss merchants that absolutely wipe the floor with everybody, or will it be playoff M80 where they show up and their gameplay is nowhere to be found once they reach Saturday? Is there anything that I'm missing in storylines for you, or is there you think that I kind of hit the nail on the head there?
I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. I think we're good to go.
Okay. Obviously there's a couple more, right? Be sure to, show up to your team streams and root on your favorite team. That's, one of the best ways that you can support the orgs and, show them why they should continue to be in Rocket League. But with that, I think it's time to jump around the world. So starting out, we'll start out in OCE. So we had the event, the Open Qualifier that happened before, and so the teams making the top 4 are Chiefs Esports, Kib Gang, Pioneers, and Power, with Power taking down the Chiefs 4-1 in the grand finals.
Can't say that wasn't expected.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to be Power Chiefs. There could have been a world where maybe Pioneers snuck in there, but at this point, that's probably your G2 and Gen G, if you will, of Oceania.
I would tend to agree. I mean, I have my clear-cut favorite on this one. What's your best name from this top 4?
I mean, gotta go with Kid Gang.
I would agree. I think it's unique.
Yep. I mean, especially with the old guard of the other threes being around for so long.
Yeah, for sure. But you want to take us away with Sam?
Sure thing. So with Sam, the teams making the top 16, we have Furia, Gamer Legion, Hero Base, Secret, Complexity, W7M Esports, Ninjas in Pajamas, Crew, Timeless, Normace, not really sure, Not Exposed, Red, Erased, Barcelona, Died for Our Sins, and Luck Esports. Now, Kyle, what is the best name of these 16 for you?
I still like Died for Our Sins. I think that's kind of funny.
And I feel like mine's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, Red is the best name of 16.
Yep, I saw that coming. For you, I mean, I think I'm pretty sure I know your answer, but if you're picking a winner here, who are you rocking with?
Furia, all the way.
Me too. I think it is their region to lose.
Absolutely.
Maybe we see a fight from Complexity this time, but Furia, I think, is on a different plane right now.
I agree.
Okay. And now we'll move over to Mina with a little bit of drama that we'll talk a little bit about here, but mostly in the roster rumors section. Teams making the top 16, we have Falcons, Ranger Esport, R8 Esports, Bravado Gaming, Anything, the former Rule 1 roster, except Okala did not play, their sub played. Team ROC, Twisted Minds, Vision Esports, Sleeping, NTNR, 404, Brain Not Found, Espada, Oreo, Atlantic, Nightmare, NRD, Esport. So, of those names, which one's your favorite?
It's tough. I'm liking 404, Brain Not Found. I'm a fan of that.
That was the one that was jumping out to me as well.
We all have those moments where we really question if we have a brain up there or not.
Yeah, especially if you're playing Rocket League. So.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you're picking a winner, I'm assuming it's going to be Falcons.
Yeah, there's nothing there that would tell me otherwise.
I mean, it's Falcons or Twisted Minds, right? Twisted Minds took them to Game 7 the last time, but then
Falcons are Falcons.
Exactly. So. Do we want to talk about it here under the Mina tab and around the world? Do we want to talk about it during roster rumors? Should it be its own section? What do we want to talk about here?
I think let's go ahead and talk about it since we're on the case of Mina, since we did make the point that if you all are aware, it was not Rule 1 that we listed on that team name. It was Anything. So, Kyle, if you want to kind of take it away on what all went down.
Yeah, so it was announced via Rule 1's Twitter that they were dropping their roster after a video surfaced of Nuepo, saying some really racially charged and slurs and some really bad stuff in a Discord call with some people. So it's the clip is cut in quite a few places, so you just hear some of the worst stuff. So you don't hear any of the things that are said towards him, but you see the reactions that he gives towards his fellow Discord call members.
Yeah, it's not a great look. I don't know how much in detail we'll probably go about it, but it's just one of the things. Obviously, Rule 1 had to step away from the team, and that's not saying that they aren't still competing. As you can see, anything is still competing as the points follow the players, not the org. So Rule 1 is still an org. The question is there, though, who they decide to look to next.
Indeed. And like you even have like in Civic, the kind of the bankroll behind Rule 1. He tweeted so much to say, but I feel like it's not worth saying right now. Maybe at some point, some other point in time. The actions of Nuepo should not be associated with MENA in general, as we have people in every region and every community that have done/will do as bad or worse. He is still, pardon me, he is still young, and I hope he can learn from this and move on. As for Khalid, Meso, and Venom, I wish them the best whether they continue with him or not. So it appears as of right now that they are going to continue without him, as they will retain their RLCS points because, like you said, it follows the players and not the team. So I think this is a pretty good move and a good PR move from Rule 1's sake, but for Nuepo, hopefully he can learn from it and bounce back. This certainly is not the first time we've heard of someone being toxic or racist or anything like that, and getting a second chance. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
All right, next up on the Around the World, we're moving over to the APAC region. Teams making the top 4 in APAC, we have Gladiators, Sailing Esports, Elevate, and Layfish, with the finals being elevating above Guardians. There you go. Or not Guardians, Gladiators, 4-2. Can't say I'm not surprised, although Game Gladiators did sign that new roster, so I'm kind of shocked that Elevate still was able to hold on, but good to see that there is some rising competition in APAC.
For sure. And it's interesting because there's a little bit of Twitter banter going back and forth between these two teams, with Elevate saying, you can't really call it a rivalry if we always win. So, calling them out a little bit there. So good to see them, taking them down. But what's your favorite name from this region?
Layfish, obvious. That's fantastic.
big LaFishy guy. But last but not least on our Around the World journey here, it's SSA, and teams making the top 16 here are Limitless, Snake's Den, Team Mobula, The Elites, Astronic Skill Quest, OnlyFans, PHANS, 9 Lies Esports, 77 Blocks, Drift Queens, Unknown Goats, 104 Ani, World of Tanks, Bird, Nigel's Lighties, Nixa, and Trifecta. A most notable name missing off of here is White Rabbit Gaming. That's a name that we've seen in and around the scene in SSA for a while now, and they do not qualify. So what there's a lot of good ones to choose from here. What's your best name here?
I think I still got to stick with Drift Queens. It's just it's clever.
Really?
It fits the Rocket League theme. I'm a fan.
Okay. AJ and I liked World of Tanks before. I think that's still a good one. I like OnlyFans with PHANS. I think that's kind of funny. But I think I'm gonna go World of Tanks.
Alrighty.
So the last talking point I want to bring up for SSA is this the regain for Limitless? Do we see them return to form, or have they been surpassed by the region invaders?
I'm not sure. I have faith in Limitless that they can protect the region. However, they need to continue improving. So I want them to protect the region, but at the same time, I want it to be difficult. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, because knives sharpen knives,
Absolutely.
But with that, we will close our Around the World segment and bring everyone back with our favorite segment. Red, you wanna take us away?
Absolutely. Welcome back to Red's roster rumors. We got just a small section today. Not a lot's happening. Teams are starting to solidify. But starting off, obviously, we had Rule 1 dropping the entire team amid the Nupo incident. Won't really get too much more into that, but like I said, Rule 1 is still an org. They are, as I'm aware, are still looking for a team. We aren't really sure, though. Next, Cheers disbands. Cheers was the team that was almost Claverity, for those of you that were keeping track of that on Twitter. They have fully disbanded, and Cam will be sitting out for the rest of the season. Next up, we said their name earlier in the NA qualifier, Spate Esports, formerly known as Young Whippersnappers. Spate Esports consists of Skippy, Panda, and Realize, the NA version, not the APAC one. Next up, we have the Punishers organization. Comes to SSA, acquiring Strudic, Ziripai, and Nitro, and Dylan as a sub. And then finally, we aren't sure where this team's going, but they are a team. Jushu, Realize, Rixie, will be teaming up for RLCS. The reason we aren't sure where or what region they're competing in is Jushu is from the UAE, Realize is from Japan, and Rixie is from Saudi Arabia. So this team could realistically play in either MENA or APAC. I'm curious to see where they just actually land. And that will do it. Like I said again, just a short section today. So tune in next time for more information. Back to you, Kyle.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm very interested to see if Realize makes the jump to MENA or if they're coming to APAC. So we should have to wait and see on that one. There's a little bit more drama with the Cheers disbanding, but we won't go into that on this episode. So if you are interested in that, it can be found on Twitter if you were one to look for it. But thank you for those roster rumors. Again, yeah, we know it's a little bit shorter, but we are technically now mid-split. So I think these roster news will be fewer and farther between until the end of this split. But with that, was there anything else that you wanted to add about RLCS around the world or anything Rocket League related?
The only thing I have to say is it landed yet?
It's almost landing, except not really.
Except not really, unfortunately. But more Rocket League to come, so can never be too sad about that.
Should be another exciting weekend of NA Rocket League. After this, we'll have a much clearer picture of the teams that are in contention for the major and teams that are maybe solidifying their world spot, depending on how things go for them. But with that, we'd like to wrap up today's episode, and thank you so much for listening. We'd like to please remind you to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Discord, and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, as it really helps us out. Also, we'd like to remind you to follow us on Twitch, our TikTok, and our merch store with like 16 new color options for t-shirts for the summer. All of these links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. And from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball.
Thanks for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website at boostoverball.com.